Theater's always been at the backdrop of my life. I'm from the Capital District. I grew up in Mechanicville and Albany and Saratoga. And so my mom and my grandma and my aunt would always bring me to Steamer 10 or Proctor's, The Egg. And I remember loving the planetarium at the museum in Albany because there was a storytelling component to that. So I remember very vividly what an impact the interactions I had with, Capital Region performers, puppeteers, clowns when I would attend something like a first night, which was our New Year's Eve celebration. But it really wasn't until an eighth grade trip to New York City when I took a character development class with an actor from The Lion King that I knew in an instant that that's what I was going to do the rest of my life. I wanted to create and embody other people and other worlds. I went to Purchase College for undergrad. I studied drama studies and with a concentration in directing. And my first project that I directed was with a very large cast. I think we were like 12 or 13 girls from all diverse backgrounds and places in the world. And we did The Skriker by Carol Churchill. And we were looking at motherhood and what is considered a normal mother or abnormal mother. And we're kind of resisting and like fighting against those ideas through this mythology that Carol Churchill creates in that play. Just before I went to grad school at NYU, I took a trip with Theater Me Too. And they're another ensemble-based company that makes a lot of work that infuses technology, but all other cultural practices. So they do these learning trips, and I was a part of the fellowship that went to Japan. We studied with the National Bunraku School, National No. We did Ikebana, we did Zazen, we did tea ceremony. I work in a collaborative process at Fringe and Fur. But largely like the initial seed idea comes from something that I feel really compelled to share. So the perfect example, if there ever was one, was the hopelessly hopeless story of all good girls. And that to me is the ideal process because I worked on it from a very over 3 iterations. And so in the first iteration, it was shared and I was actually performing in it, which I don't do very often. But we shared it at a festival and we were able to kind of take from that what we could and then realize, okay, there's another layer of research that we want to go into in the next phase. And we want to develop part of the design more. And so then we moved it into the third and final production, which premiered at the Brick Theater when Teresa Buchheister became artistic director. So it was like one of the opening shows for their appointment as artistic director. And it was one of the first times I'd gotten to see my work really fully embodied.
That hill up here. Someday he'll come along.
The second important project was more autobiographical. It took place during the pandemic, and it was called Madge Love, which you can watch online on my website, Fringe and Fur. And it is looking at what it meant to be a girl in a deindustrialized space like upstate New York can be in some communities. It felt very hyper masculine to live at that time, being 15 in that environment. And I remember the sense of wanting to be emancipated and us really being stuck in location, either because there was a lack of transportation or a lack of money or a lack of interest in parenting. But there were really adult things that happened to girls that shift the way we imagine ourselves and relate to love. And so I wanted to explore that between these two girls. I've always been really passionate about racial justice and the way that that intersects with women's rights and specifically reproductive rights and birth justice and gender. I found a way to kind of hold a space for the advocacy that lies inside of choosing what stories you're going to tell, making sure there's access for folks to participate and to receive those stories. I had always followed the work that WAM was doing. I love the way that there's partnership beyond the theater into the community, and that's happening on a lot of different levels. Um, and so I just saw it and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it feels meant to be given my career and what I've been interested in. And so I think I'm interested in finding ways that I can take what I learned at Every Mother Counts and have a greater impact on the community here, but also use WAM as a space to include more voices, and create an opening for all different types of storytelling to happen. There's just so many ways and so many ways that women are telling stories and embodying that experience to be shared with others that I'm really excited about and think that there's hunger for. And yeah, I've been really warmly welcomed by the community here. And so over time, I'm sure I'll get to know everyone and find other ways that are useful to the community to collaborate.